Welcome to Aging Insight with your host, John Ross and Lisa Schollmeyer. This program is made possible by
Welcome to Aging Insight. I'm Lisa Schollmeyer. I'm here with my co-host, John Ross. We are elder law attorneys based here in the Arklatex area, and we bring you this show every week on KLFI in order to provide you with information about things you really need to know and to think about as you enter your retirement years and those golden years as we enjoy the blessings of getting older, but it also brings some challenges. So Aging Insight is all about trying to address those with you.
And maybe it's you thinking about it for yourself, or maybe we're talking about a caregiver. Maybe it's a child that's concerned about their parents, or a niece that's concerned about their aunt or uncle. When you're talking about navigating through this whole aging process, you could be that senior person, or you could just be somebody who's concerned about that senior person. And at least I would say in our practice, it's probably split down the middle.
It really is, from the standpoint of, seniors recognizing the need to take some steps to plan for their futures. And then the other side of the coin is, adult children or best friends or other relatives coming in because they're concerned about a senior that they care very much about. So definitely lots of people come to a point in life where considerations have to be made. And one thing that is so difficult is when you're dealing with someone who cares about a senior and is wanting to help, but they don't have the information or the knowledge that they need to answer questions either to me or to a medical provider, because out of respect and out of boundaries, they have not asked about certain information that is really going to be critical later on for the care of a senior person. So
an extreme example, I had a 18-year-old child, still in high school, was 18 years old, but was still in high school when her mother, and it was a single parent, and her mother had a heart attack, which caused oxygen loss to the brain. And the mother is up at the hospital, unconscious, unable to speak or do anything for herself. Well, think back to when you were 18. Did you know anything about anything, really? But
Really?
Especially about what your parents did, where, how much the mortgage was, or the car payment, or insurance, or where bills got paid. Yeah. You didn't know anything at 18, but
a lot of our adult children caring for a parent
are in no better situation.
That's right.
And they'll come into us after some sort of a catastrophe, some sort of health crisis or something like that, where the kid is coming in saying, "Okay, John, Lisa, I need help. What do I do?" And we say, "Okay, well, let's get a little information."
Right, and blank.
That's right. So kind of our topic today is we wanted to talk about a number of financial things that kids are going to need to know about their parents. Or doesn't have to be kids, could be other caregivers and
Right.
stuff. But if you're looking out for that older person, or you are that older person and you've got somebody that you expect to look out for you, these are going to be the things that they're going to need to know about.
Right, and I will say, just starting off, this can be very touchy because a lot of the information that is needed to be shared is very personal. And, many of us were brought up to, you didn't burden other people with, talk about finances and income and bills and things like that. So I recognize that this can be very sensitive information, but it really is critical that if you are a caregiver or if you want someone to be a caregiver, that you're willing you have that trust enough in that relationship to be able to share much of this information.
Yeah, there's really no question about it. You know, if you talk about not wanting to burden them, and I've had people say, well, I don't want to weigh them down with all of this information and all of that. But by not getting them involved, oftentimes that is the real burden. So let's just kind of jump in, and you know, when you're talking about finances and you're talking about somebody else's finances, you know, we're talking about what happens when you're incapacitated. Who's going to handle all of this sort of thing? So the first and biggest key here is, do you have a general durable power of attorney for finances? Who is it, and where is the document?
That's right. So, you know, we've talked about powers of attorney before, and we've talked about it in depth, and we've certainly touched on the usefulness of a power of attorney. But here it pops up first thing. You know, if you expect someone to assist you in any way with your property, with your finances, with your bill payment, if you become disabled, or you know, you've got to have a power of attorney in place that names that person. And you know, it's a big decision, yes, but it needs to be made, and it needs to be drafted correctly to where that the document is useful and is available to the agent that you have selected as your power of attorney when the time is right.
You know, and I think you made a good point there. We have people that show up in our office with no powers of attorney, and in those cases, we have no choice but to have to go and get guardianship.
Yes.
And have a court get involved, which is expensive and time consuming. But we also have an equal number of people that come in with bad powers of attorney.
Yes. The internet is a wonderful thing, but it's not a wonderful place to get a power of attorney.
That's right. If you know, if you don't know how to look at a computer, the insides of a computer, and know how all of those little inner pieces work, well, you know, there is somebody out there that does. They built it, they designed it, and it works real good. But if you try to do it yourself, it's probably not going to work out all that great. And the same thing goes with powers of attorney. You need good ones, and you need to know where it is.
Yeah. So that's our first, you know, number one on the list is, you know, make sure you share with that the caregiver, the senior, you know, get that power of attorney, know where it is. And so then the next question often is, you know, where are the bank accounts, investment accounts, where are the resources that would be likely to be used to pay bills, to pay for care, to take care of business if you do become unable to take care of your own business?
Yeah, you know, just knowing which bank account or which bank you bank at can be huge information. So, you know, the kid has that power of attorney, but where does he go when he needs to get a bill paid? You know, where does he go to pull some money out? So yeah, knowing where you bank, where your investments are they at, you know, this investment firm or this one? You know, there's dozens just in a town like Texarkana. And so knowing where you bank and where your finances are and those sort of things can be huge. And you know, not only does this apply to kids and stuff, but Lisa, how many times have you had a spouse?
Yeah,
you know, just because you've always taken care of everything, and you feel like, you know what, this is my job and my spouse doesn't have to worry about it because I handle everything. And that's not a man thing or a woman thing, it's a both, either one of them. I've had both situations. But if you're not sharing that information and you're not getting that other person involved, I promise you, you're going to be the one that dies first.
Right, and your spouse will be absolutely lost. So don't keep that to yourself. You know,
right.
Share.
So that's our second thing here, is making sure people know. Well, we need to take a quick break, and then we're going to keep talking about some of these financial things that you need to know about if you're going to help somebody else out. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Hi there. I'm Larry Sims. It's been my privilege for the past several years to be a volunteer board member of Hospice of Texarkana. And there I'm able to represent community members like you. We continually customize our end-of-life care to better meet the needs of our community. As an example, our medical director and nurse practitioner still make visits to homes and facilities. Call today to learn more about the help we can give your family. Hospice of Texarkana, the nonprofit hospice established in 1985 for the community, by the community.
As things get older, they require more care. This car and I have seen a lot of miles together, but because I take care of her, she runs just like she did in 1955. That's why I chose the Wadley Senior Clinic, with an individualized care plan designed just for me and a convenient location off Jefferson Avenue. They have everything to keep me running like new. It's not about the miles, it's about the journey. Let the Wadley Senior Clinic keep you happy, healthy, and cruising down the road of life.
Welcome back to Aging Insight. I'm your host, John Ross, here with Lisa Scholmeyer, and today we're talking about things that a kid or a caregiver needs to know in order to handle the finances for that senior person. And oftentimes it is the kids that are the ones doing this. So we may kind of use that term, but it doesn't have to be. If you're looking out for somebody, these are the things you need to know. And if you've got somebody that you plan on looking out for you, these are the things you need to let them know, things that you need to tell them. And we were talking about making, power of attorney, big one.
Number one.
Knowing where the person does their financial business. Where do they bank? Where do they keep their investments? And where do they keep the records of those things, in the home?
Right, and many of our seniors still maintain paper statements, paper copies, which is a wonderful thing. But, we are transitioning to a time where, I see probably the next generation or two of seniors, they may be doing all that online on email. So it is important to know where those financial records can be found.
Yeah, now, when you're talking about finances, some things that you do need to know about, specifically about those, for example, when people will come in and they'll say, well, John, Lisa, my mom has, she's had a fall, she's went to the hospital, now she's at the nursing home, and we need to figure out how to pay for her care. Well, first thing I'm going to ask you is, what's her income?
Right, and many times the child has no idea.
Right.
And part of that is because a senior parent, again, you're not used to sharing that kind of information with children. You still think of them as that child, but that information is very important in order to obtain maybe some Medicaid assistance or to see if veterans benefits might be applicable. So just knowing the income, and a lot of times that's where the financial records can be helpful, because if we don't know, we can at least look on the bank statements and see if there are direct deposits made or anything like that. But oftentimes, though, there can be deductions that are taken out of the gross income before the direct deposit is made. And so we still don't have all the information we need. So it is important to let that caregiver, child, whomever know where your income comes from, what the gross amount is, and where those records can be found.
Right, and along those same lines, what money is going back out the door every month? Oftentimes that's the next question. Is I'll say, well, do they have any debts? Do they have credit cards? Do they have mortgages, car payments? And people say, oh yeah, my mom's got a car payment. Okay, great. How much is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and also it's important to know not only what the bills are, but how does that senior typically pay those bills? Because, and this becomes very just crucial, if a senior typically writes checks to cover that car note or that supplemental health insurance policy each month, then we don't want to get in a situation where the checks are not sent on a timely basis, because, for instance, on an insurance policy, health insurance, life insurance, we risk that policy being canceled if we don't get the payments made. So, some seniors pay a lot of their bills through automatic draft, but many seniors still pay with the check. So the method of how those bills are paid is also important to know.
Right, and especially with those automatic payments, because if there's a situation where that automatic payment needs to stop, or if there's not enough money to make that payment, you need to know that come the 2nd of next month, they're going to try to deduct that money out of the account. So, knowing those sort of things, knowing what money's flowing in, knowing what money is flowing out, can be quite important. Now, one of the big places that you mentioned it, is one of the big going outs usually is that insurance.
Right. A lot of younger people who are not yet age 65, they think that Medicare takes care of everything. And we've talked many times on Aging Insight how Medicare does not take care of everything, and there are co-pays. And so many seniors have purchased a supplemental insurance policy which covers the co-pays that Medicare does not cover. So that type of insurance and what type of Medicare that senior has, whether it's traditional Medicare or a Medicare Advantage plan, and what type of supplement, if any, supplemental insurance they have, that's very crucial information to know. And often you're going to need to know that immediately if there is that healthcare crisis and the senior is unable to communicate themselves what type of insurance they have and who it's with and where those insurance cards are. So very, very important information to know.
Yeah, so especially when having maybe copies of the cards, and or at least access and know where those insurance cards are, knowing the difference between Medicare supplement plans versus Medicare Advantage plans. All of these sort of things are the kind of things that that kid may need to know if they're stepping in to handle stuff for you. So insurance, Medicare cards, supplemental insurance cards, all of those things are going to be very important that they know about.
Yeah, so a lot of times if that caregiver is coming in a crisis situation, we don't really have the time to start going through the junk drawer or the filing cabinets or the desk to gather this information. So if you're a senior and able, one of the great things you can really do is to tackle that job and, to get in there and get that information in order so that it is easy to find, or at least properly labeled or filed, so that a person who may be coming in a crisis can help you.
Yeah, and speaking of insurance, if you're a Medicare recipient, you're probably well aware that Medicare does not pay for things like nursing home care. You've kind of learned some of these sort of things so over time, maybe from your own experience or from experiences of others. But I can tell you, as somebody who talks to people all the time, the idea that Medicare does not pay for nursing home care is a big surprise, particularly to many younger people who have not had to experience this.
Yes.
And so the first time they find out is when the nursing home says, no, we don't take Medicare, you have to private pay for that. So if pass that information along, and also if you have things like long-term care insurance, they're going to need to know where that is as well. As part of all of this, when we're talking about insurances, make sure we know about these other insurances like long-term care insurance as part of that.
Yeah, because particularly if you're a senior and you've got a long-term care insurance policy, you've been paying that premium, and if it comes a time that insurance policy needs to be used, you definitely want to make sure that you're going to get the benefit from the policy you've been paying for.
Get the money that you paid for.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to keep talking about some of these financial issues that those kids need to be aware of. So stick around. We'll be right back.
As things get older, they require more care. This car and I have seen a lot of miles together, but because I take care of her, she runs just like she did in 1955. That's why I chose the Wadley Senior Clinic, with an individualized care plan designed just for me and a convenient location off Jefferson Avenue. They have everything to keep me running like new. It's not about the miles, it's about the journey. Let the Wadley Senior Clinic keep you happy, healthy, and cruising down the road of life.
Hi there, I'm Larry Sims. It's been my privilege for the past several years to be a volunteer board member of Hospice of Texarkana. And there I'm able to represent community members like you. We continually customize our end-of-life care to better meet the needs of our community. As an example, our medical director and nurse practitioner still make visits to homes and facilities. Call today to learn more about the help we can give your family. Hospice of Texarkana, the nonprofit hospice established in 1985 for the community, by the community.
Welcome back to Aging Insight. I'm Lisa Scholmeyer, and I'm here with John Ross. And today we're talking about some crucial information that needs to be shared between a senior person and the person who is likely to be a caregiver or a trusted person that the senior feels comfortable enough with to share a lot of this information. Many seniors are very private individuals, out of a sense of, that's just, you just don't share a lot of information. A lot of times they don't want to burden other people, John, and sometimes they don't want to tempt other people either.
That's right, certainly.
So, while we're saying that this information does need to be shared, we need to make sure it is with a trusted person. So, keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, just because you have a child who's demanding to know this information doesn't mean you have to share it. But if you have somebody that you trust, that you are planning on being your decision maker, your caregiver in the event of your incapacity, well, this is the stuff they're going to need to know.
Yeah, so, we've talked a lot about the financial information that ought to be shared. But there is some medical information that needs to be shared as well. One big piece of the medical information has to do with any prescription medication that you might be taking and why you're taking it. So many seniors take medications that they take every day, and that it's for conditions that they have to have this medication. So have a list, make sure that that's accessible, that your potential caregiver knows where that list is. Also, let the caregiver know where your usual pharmacy is. Who do you use? But a lot of seniors use mail order pharmacies, and so they get better deals, and
Sure.
they get their 90-day supplies of whatever prescription is necessary. And so, if you use mail order, make sure that your potential caregiver knows how to access that particular company. Do you have an account, or is there a phone number, and do you have a customer ID number? Those are the kind of things that you also want to share with that caregiver.
Yeah, and the same thing goes with things like documents like a medical power of attorney or HIPAA releases, so that they don't run into any problems when they call that pharmacy and need the information about you. The pharmacy can't tell them anything unless they've got the right paperwork. So not only do they need to know which pharmacy to call, they need to have access and know where they can get a hold of the medical power of attorney or HIPAA release so that they can get that information. Same thing goes with any medical, not just the medical drugs that you're on, but which ones can't you take? Or do you have some that you're allergic to, and things like that? And there's so what drugs you're taking, what drugs you're allergic to, what particular health issues that you've got going on, and where do you get your medicine and your health care. All of those things need to be known by the child. And there's different ways that you can accomplish this. You could, you can just tell them. For our clients, we store their medical information electronically and give them a card that they can give to their family that says what medication they're on, and then whether they're allergic to any medicines and who their doctor is and all of these sort of things. And so there's several different ways that you can do it, but you definitely want to do it.
Yeah, and I guess one piece of information we haven't talked about yet is we have a lot of veterans and veterans families out there that may qualify for veterans benefits. And many times when we're talking to adult children and we ask about the veteran service of either of their parents, they can proudly tell us that yes, dad was in the Air Force or dad was in the Navy, but that's about the extent of the information that they have. You know, so often our veterans who served in World War II, Korea, even Vietnam, they don't really talk. Some of them don't talk much about that experiences or those times of service. And but there's important documentation, once again, that we may need to lay our hands on in order to get access those veterans benefits. So if there's any military service history with your spouse or yourself, make sure that you gather those DD-214s and that service information and include that as well.
Yeah, so first thing, if you're a veteran and you don't know where your DD-214 is, you're wrong. You need to go and find that, and if you can't find it, if you've lost it along the way, you can go onto the internet to the U.S. Archives website, which is www.archives.gov/veterans, and you can order copies of a DD-214. So if you're a veteran and you don't have your DD-214, get it. That goes without saying. Once you have it, make sure other people know about it, know where it is. Keep it safe. That's an important document. It's got lots of information on it, but needs to, that needs to be out there where somebody can get a hold of it.
Yeah, and finally, if you have any trusted financial advisors, CPAs, that type of thing.
Elder law attorneys?
Yes. Make sure that your caregiver or children know who those people are and their names and contact information. Because a lot of times they may know a little more about you in that area than your children do.
That's right. So these are the kind of things that you need to know about, need to make sure other people know about, and that's what this program is all about. And of course, if you have more questions, you can always give us a call during our live radio show, which is every Saturday at noon on 98.5. You can also pick up a copy of Aging Insight magazine, which has some information. But otherwise, you can keep watching this show.
And yeah, you can check back episodes of Aging Insight right here on KLFI on their website. So check it out.
That's right. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for this week's Aging Insight program with John Ross and Lisa Schollmeyer. This program is made possible by